area after 29 days of constant search. Given the complexity of the case, the discovery has been possible thanks to the incessant and discreet search carried out by the Civil Guard during these 29 days, in which the natural space was preserved so that it would not be filled with curious onlookers. All indications indicate that it could be the young British man who has been missing since last June the 17th in the absence of full identification. The first investigations reveal that he could have suffered an accident or fall in the inaccessible area where he was found. And we're joined on the phone by Shingi Mariki, who is covering.
Hi, guys. I was talking for 4 minutes. And I'd not clicked go live. So I'm just so shocked by this news. I'd literally put a video out saying it was great news that a search team from the Netherlands is out there looking for Jay this week. They got the flight yesterday and they were out there this week. And I'd literally just put the video out saying it's great news. And then Sky News started reporting that human remains had been found in the area where Jay went missing. So it's believed, first indications, obviously no formal identification because the body's just been found, but it appears that it could well be Jay. I don't believe there's anyone else missing in that precise location at the moment. And it's it looks like this person has had a fall. So sad. I don't know whether it was the new search team that found the body or whether it's someone else who found the body. I don't know. But this is Sky News, so let's listen in. I hopefully they've got more information. I know his family must be absolutely, completely devastated. However, it's at least, if it is Jay, at least they've got now some closure. Yeah, said a young man. Yeah. It was the civil guards that found him, really. Well, let's listen in.
Into the search, it was sprawling. There were helicopters, there were drones, there were sniffer dogs. There was a lot of obvious visible effort being used, lots of emergency services in place, from mountain rescue to firefighters to La Guardia Civil, the Spanish Civil Guard. And then as the days went on, the search seemed to visibly at least get a bit smaller, to narrow down into certain areas. And I think that's just because the landscape is so difficult to tackle. They then started looking at sheer drops, going down ravines, looking at water sources, heading in sort of directions that were a bit different to where they initially started, with smaller teams and a smaller focus. But even then, with a slightly different approach, they had no luck, and the search was called off formally, and then it continued quite clearly up until today. And they now say that they have found a body. And as you say, they're reflecting their statement on the fact that the person seemed to have had an injury, seemed to have had a fall, which, if you had been to the landscape, is actually quite unsurprising. It's difficult to navigate without the right equipment. We spoke to hikers up there who said that it would be difficult for them, and they were experienced. This person, if it is indeed Jay Slater, would have been struggling with the elements, struggling with the landscape, because it is harsh, it's arid, and it's just really, really turgid, to be honest. Quite hard for anyone to get around at the best of times, let alone with no phone battery and with no water, as we understand was the case for Jay Slater.
And Shiggy, he was out there with friends. They were the ones that first raised the alarm, weren't they? They were the ones that first contacted his family.
Yeah, so it appears there is no grand conspiracy. It appears that he was out there, as I've been saying since the very beginning. He was out there on his own and something bad befell him. if indeed this is Jay. But there will be people saying that it's all just a big lie and it's all just ridiculous. Just utterly ridiculous. Totally ridiculous.
Good. And we know that Jay's family, in particular his father, took part in that search operation. In fact, both of the times I met him, he was heading up towards that mountainous region of Masca. And one of the things he really reflected on was how difficult that landscape looked. He would often kind of gesticulate and point and show me the area, and I'd been up there quite a lot as well, and just mentioned to me that this is really difficult. And I remember Warren saying to me, I just hope someone's helped him up, stuck with me. But yes, you're right. His friends and family stayed in Tenerife. They actively took part in this search effort. And this news, if it is indeed Jay Slater, is really, will be really difficult for them to take.
And of course, during the search for him, there was a lot of attention on the villa that he travelled to with these two men that he'd met at that festival, who they were, why he went with them, how long he stayed there. They had a lot of questions to answer, didn't they?
They did. And that was sort of part of the social media circus that surrounded this case, was the fact that there is so little known at the time about the two men that he travelled to the villa with, beyond the fact that they were British and we understand older than Jay. And then,
look, guys, if you've been watching my footage, if you've been watching my videos, I've been saying that this is an incredible, really difficult area to search. So many crevices and ravines, and that's just in that first part between the road and the beginning of that steep drop down. And it's so difficult. So many people get missed in much less inhospitable places than this. Just the amount of underbrush, and if he was in a ravine, fell down a ravine, there's no way he would have been seen from above by a drone or a helicopter. And there are so many areas in that locality where dogs can't go. So, say no, but they searched the area. Well, no, they did search the area, but it's so difficult. There's people who are lost for months sometimes in areas much less inhospitable than this.
Watch that could have been stolen or had gone missing, conversations around that, and his family had made the point that this, they felt, was a distraction from what needed to be done, which was just looking for him.
Yeah, and that case, that example was just one of many in which things entered the sort of social media sphere around Jay, around the case, and added to the family's distress, because their main...
Don't know how close it is to his phone ping. Apparently it was the civil guard that found him. You think the birds would have alerted people to where he was? Yeah, I mentioned that in my video today, but that video now is, I guess not relevant. If this is Jay, of course, I'll unlist that video if they do confirm it's Jay. Thank you, Purple AJ, for gifting 10 memberships. That's very kind of you. Thank you so much. We've got Rambling Rome, Jackie, Tweety Lynn, Fly on the Wall, Melanie, Vicky, Neela, V-Dub. Thank you so much. Oh, Lucy and Milo, Ash. I think that's it. I think it's stopped now. Thank you all. Thank you all. I shouldn't be shocked because I called it. Yeah, I don't like the idea of being right in these kind of situations. I really don't. I was hoping upon hoping that he would be found alive, but it's just common sense. This is just like Nicola Bully. It was just absolute common sense. The river's right there. Her dog was right there. Her phone was right there. And no Nicola. And there's a river right there with a big drop off. Yeah. All right. with this, very difficult terrain for somebody who's dehydrated, for somebody who is just completely out of his depth, not like making bad decisions. I was hoping upon hoping I was wrong. Do we know where he was found? Not at the moment, no. Just that it's in the area where Jay was missing. Like it's in the Mascot area where Jay was missing.
Search. We now know that has happened, and we now know that there are strong suggestions that that person who has been discovered in the Mascot area, not too far from where he went missing, is most likely Jay Slater.
Okay, Shingy, thanks very much for bringing us up to date for now. Let's bring in police commentator Graham Whettone. And Graham, we have that full statement from the Spanish police now. If it is true that they say all indications indicate it could be the young British man who's been missing since last June the 17th, there'll be questions about why it's taken them so long to discover him, if it is Jay.
Yeah, good afternoon, Jane. Yeah, I think there will be questions, but I think you just look at some of just looking at the pictures you're showing. The terrain and the grounds they had to cover and had to search are not easy to search. They're not easy to find somebody in these sort of circumstances. So I think it just shows the difficulty the Spanish police faced. They also had these theories, these other theories being posted. There was lots of people turning up there. They've mentioned in one of their statements that I've just read about onlookers having to keep the area secure from onlookers. So they were clearly concerned that there were going to be other people that would either disturb the area or distract them from their primary task, which was searching for Jay in the area they believed him to be in. It has taken some time, but clearly the terrain is exceptionally difficult to not just to navigate, but to search thoroughly and properly with the resources they have, the equipment and tactics they were using. So I think it just shows the difficulty they faced here in such a desolate area.
Because it wasn't just on foot, and we can see how inaccessible it is, as you say, from these pictures, that they were searching for him. They used drones as well, didn't they? Yeah,
as an indicator, yes, the drones were up and being used, but you have to almost like know where to start from. In most searches like this, you have to separate the area or split the area into like grids, etc., and methodically, painstakingly do it almost section by section. Even with drones can cover a much wider area. But again, without knowing exactly where these remains have been found, it's whether they're actually visible from the air. Because you look at the terrain from your images being shown now, not everything's going to be visible from the air. There's shrubs, there's bushes, there's little smaller ravines, etc., crevices, etc. You can see the dogs going through now. On occasions, you'll lose sight of the dog. A drone much further up gives you a much wider coverage, but it doesn't give you that detail, that full search you can carry out by people and dogs, literally walking through the area, searching for somebody.
What is saying this?
And as we touched on talking to Shingy, there were so many conspiracy theories, so much wild speculation online, weren't they, which incredibly hurtful for the family. And yet it does seem at the end of the day, it looks possible that this was nothing more than an accident or a fall with just terrible consequences. Yeah,
the statement says the first investigations seem to suggest he suffered an accident or a fall in the area where they suspected, the large area where they suspected he may have been making his way towards. So it doesn't seem like at this very early stage, initial stage, that there's nothing suspicious there. But you're right, the social media online theories, etc., have just been running wild in the last couple of weeks, and the family have been reading this. They've been reading all the comments, all the suggestions, and it is very hurtful for people in these sort of situations. They're almost hoping or clinging to the hope he's going to be found somewhere, and then they're reading all this stuff online. It does distract to some degree some of the police investigations as well, because some of those suggestions or theories have to be looked into to a certain extent. But by the same token, you've got resources literally searching the area, trying to find what is essentially a missing person.
And the police are saying that they are waiting now for the results of the autopsy. How long do those normally take?
Depending, and again, without being too brutal and honest, at lunchtime, it depends on the condition the remains are found in. What they're looking to do with the autopsy, the post-mortem, is to establish a cause of death. cause of death then suggests accident, fall, etc. Anything more suspicious. So that might take some time, depending on how they can establish what the cause of death is. So it does depend on where the body was found and the condition the remains have been found in. So it could be reasonably quickly, but by the same token, it may take them some time if they have to send off for tests, etc.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of money was raised, of course, on the GoFundMe page for this, as is now very often the case when these sort of things happen. What do you think should now happen to that money? I mean, could that be used? I mean, that was money for the search. I wonder if there's any possible useful use that it could now be put to.
Yeah, possibly, but I think that's a decision for the future with the family once it is confirmed the identity of the remains, etc. If it is Jay, I think that's a matter for the family to look into, to consider, to review, maybe speak to some of the authorities over in Spain, etc. But I think that's a decision for the future, maybe not immediately, but it probably lies within what they actually feel is the right thing to do in the circumstances when they look at the outcome, the result of this.
Yeah, indeed. Graham, thanks very much for now. If you're just joining us, you're watching Sky News. A reminder of our breaking news this afternoon. Police in Tenerife say they found human remains in the area where the British teenager Jay Slater went missing almost a month ago. Officers say evidence strongly suggests that the remains found are those of the missing teenager, although formal identification has not yet taken place. The force says that first investigations reveal he could have suffered an accident or fall in the inaccessible area where he was found. Well, Jay Slater's last known location was in the rural Deteno National Park. He was last heard from at 8:50 in the morning of Monday, the 17th of June, after setting off to walk from a northern area of the island back to his holiday accommodation in the south, a journey of about 11 hours. Well, a full statement from the Spanish police reads, the Mountain Rescue and Intervention Group of the Civil Guard has located the lifeless body of a young man in the Masca area after 29 days of constant search. Given the complexity of the case, the discovery has been possible thanks to the incessant and discreet search carried out by the Civil Guard during these 29 days, in which the natural space was preserved so that it would not be filled with curious onlookers. All indications indicate that it could be the young British man who has been missing since last June the 17th in the absence of full identification. The first investigations reveal that he could have suffered an accident fall in the inaccessible area where he was found. Well, for the latest on this, I'm joined by Sky correspondent Shingi Marariki, who spent time on Tenerife last month while that search for Jay Slater was taking place. And Shingi, the police saying that they...
Was he chased? We don't know. We don't know. I doubt it, because he was on his own. He was on his own. Thank you, Shaker Maker, for the $9.99. That's very kind of you. Yeah, I'm heartbroken for his family as well. But at least it's, I don't know, it's closure, isn't it? It doesn't stop people speculating. And it doesn't stop people saying, well, it's all been staged and his body's been put there and all that. So it doesn't stop any of that, but it'll die down. I mean, look, there's still people making ridiculous videos about the Nicola Bulley case. I can't. No, his phone wasn't found. That was all just a ridiculous rumour. His phone had not been found. For people saying his phone had already been found. It had not been found. I said in my video yesterday, his phone has not been found. Was found tangled in bushes. Fell down the cliff. Yeah, it's just... Yeah. I didn't want to be right. I didn't want to be right in Nicola's case. I never want to be right. But I'm not going to put out ridiculous rumours either.
It felt like it would be windier than lots of other parts of Tenerife at points, but it also would rain. Then it would be warm, and all of that would have been difficult for a search operation, but also difficult for anyone trying to find their way through those conditions.
We don't know the exact
revisit the
location where
timeline
it's
around this. We understand that Jay had been at the last night of a music
His family
festival,
do deserve an
and
apology.
that
They
he
absolutely
had
do.
travelled with two men in a hire car from central Tenerife to the mountainous region of Tenerife. Then the next morning, the last sighting of him came from an eyewitness who I spoke to. The eyewitness said that Jay asked what time the bus would be coming before walking in the wrong direction. In and around the same time period, we understand that
No,
Jay
it was the
spoke to a
civil
couple
guard
of his
that found
friends,
him, not the
telling
people
them that he
from
was
the
trying to make an
Netherlands.
11-hour walk back to their accommodation where he was staying, and that he had run out of phone battery, that he had pricked his foot on a cactus, and that he had no water. What then began was this extensive search operation, which was formally called off after 12 days. But the statement from the civil guard today suggests that they did continue searching. They called it constant searching. And at the end of that search operation, they now say that they have found a body which they feel strongly or very likely to be that of Jay Slater.
And Shingy, the family though didn't give up hope. His friends staying out there for a long time to look for him, and also they, got assistance from Mark Williams Thomas, a journalist who went out there to try and help them as well. Yeah,
that was another element to this, was the outside interest from lots of people. Mark Williams Thomas is one of those people who, during the search operation, actually held a press conference of his own, just discussing where he had got up to. But what I thought was quite interesting about that press conference was that he had been speaking to the family, and he conveyed how distressed they were and how difficult a time that they had been having. And him being there and other people being there was a reminder that there was an element of interest to this case that went well beyond Tenerife and entered the realm of social media conspiracy in some cases and just picked up interest. There were also people who you could describe as influencers, as TikTokers, who were in Tenerife, who joined the operation.
Shingy, I'm just going to break into you because we have another statement now. This has come from LBT Global. Now, they are a charity, a missing persons, an international missing persons charity, who has been speaking to the family of Jay Slater. I've been helping her. In fact, it was through LBT that she released a statement yesterday. They say LBT Global is saddened to announce that a body found in Tenerife does look to be that of Jay Slater. It is understood the body was found close to the site of his mobile phone's last location. Although formal identification is yet to be carried out, the body was found with Mr. Slater's possessions and clothes. A post-mortem and forensic inquiries will follow. So that is from LBT Global. They say that LBT Global are supporting the family at this distressing time and ask for everyone to afford them the space and privacy to come to terms with the news. So they have added that key bit of information there, Shingy, haven't they, that we didn't know, that wasn't in the Spanish police statement, that the body that the Spanish police has found was found with Mr. Slater's possessions and clothes.
Yes, that detail is clearly key, Jane, that Mr. Slater's, we understand Mr. Slater's belongings were found with this body that has been recovered by the Spanish emergency services today. And that will be a really, really difficult blow for his family to take. As you say, LBT Global are part of the group who've been supporting his mother, Debbie, and released a statement on her behalf yesterday in which she described how hard things have been. In fact, she said that the family cannot put into words the heartache that they have been through, mentioning how her son was loved by everyone and had a close bond with his family and many, many friends.
So by possessions, that will include his phone. That will include his phone. Stardust Shorty, member for 20 months. You're nearly one of the OGs. It's so sad. I'm going to say this is Jay. I mean, look, I think they know it's Jay. They just have to wait for the formal ID. And close to where his phone last pinged. So it'll just be like further down that slope, I would imagine.
Jay's family, for his mother Debbie, for his father Warren, and the group of friends and family friends who were in Tenerife. And I think now we can see pictures of Warren, who at points took it upon himself to put out missing posters of Jay, who at points traveled to towns near the Masca area to try and speak to locals, to try and gather intelligence himself. And one of the main sentiments he would often express to reporters was, how would you feel if this was your son? How would you feel if you were a parent in my position?
Well, indeed. Shingi, thank you very much for that. For now, we're joined now by Helen Alves, who's head of services at the charity Missing People. Helen, this is just the most awful news for Jay's family, isn't it? They had not given up hope.
No, and for families who are left waiting in such a traumatic experience, waiting for news of their loved one, news like this is a devastating new piece of information. They're waiting for that confirmation of whether it is Jay or not. And obviously, new news suggests that it is. And reconciling and starting to understand how they feel about that, and whether there's a sense of relief or whether that devastation of the hope that they were experiencing is now coming to an end, is a really difficult day for them.
And Helen, for families who lose loved ones, who go missing, if that happens abroad, it is so much harder, isn't it? There is the language barrier, there's just the logistics in terms of not being where your loved one disappeared, and the different ways that different countries and different police forces operate.
Absolutely. Everything you said is completely right, and families will tell us it makes things so much harder. And also, you're not next to the people that you love, you're not in the community of people that you love, and you're obviously living away from your own home and all of your support networks while you wait. So yes, an experience like this, where they've been waiting in Tenerife for news, brings with it lots of different challenges. And, you know, language barriers are obviously bring a whole level of complexity. Different media agencies from different countries wanting to talk to you. There's lots and lots of things that they're having to face.
At least for the family, though, now they do have one answer, potentially, that this is Jay, but there will be many more questions, won't there, about how this happened and how he was not found sooner.
Absolutely, and some of those questions may never be answered, and that's the difficulty of losing someone and what we would describe as ambiguous loss. So many uncertainties that come when somebody goes missing, and families have to live with those experiences, and it brings a real level of trauma to people, not being able to know exactly what happened, when it happened, and you know what the circumstances have been for that person. It's a very, very difficult experience.
Because grief itself is just such a difficult thing to navigate. But as you say, this ambiguous loss must be almost unbearable.
Absolutely. The worst kind of loss is described to us by families, and living in that uncertainty and having so much speculation and lots of other people's judgments, having your loved one in the media when actually really you just want them next to you is a very difficult, painful experience for people, and one of the worst losses that people can describe.
It is, but at least there's closure. Is it for sure Jay? They believe it's Jay. Now, formal identification hasn't taken place. Like they'll wait for the autopsy for that. But they do believe it's Jay. Like the clothes, his possessions. Where is the watch? What? Oh, the Rolex or the AP. Don't know. We don't know. We don't even know whether that story was true. We don't know about that. We don't know about that. But thank you for the $10, Helena. That's very kind of you.
Is where are they now, and how can we get them home? And everything else is kind of irrelevant. And unfortunately, it's very painful reading comments, seeing people commenting, and sharing all sorts of speculation and viewpoints that actually for the family are just very incredibly hurtful, I would imagine.
And the charities that exist, like yours, and also like the charity that have been helping the Slater family, what help are you actually able to give?
Yeah, so LBT Global work when somebody goes missing abroad, and we work with them to make sure that we're getting the best support to families when that happens. So we're very focused on families with people missing in the UK, but also families where they have someone missing abroad. We provide both emotional and practical support, and we work with the police. We have our helpline available, and it's available now. It's on 116 000. It's free and confidential to anyone in the UK. And if people are affected, want to talk about what's happened, certainly to reaching out to Jay's family and his friends. You know, we have a counselling service, we have emotional support available, and we're obviously very, very keen to speak to people who need our help.
Yeah, Helen Alves from the Missing Persons Charity. Really good of you to join us. Thank you very much for talking to us. Well, if you're just joining us, the breaking news that we're bringing you this hour is that Spanish police say that they have found the body of a young man in the area where Jay Slater went missing. They say all indications indicated could be the young British man who has been missing since June the 17th. There still has to be a full identification. The first indications to the police are that he could have suffered an accident or fall in the inaccessible area where he was found. And we've also had a statement from LBT Global, who are a charity that's been helping the family of Jay Slater. And they say, although formal identification is yet to be carried out, the body was found with Mr. Slater's possessions and clothes. So it does seem that there's a really bleak end to this search for this young man. Let's just return to police commentator Graham Wetton. And Graham, that statement, that little bit of extra information that we got from LBT Global about the fact that his possessions and clothes were next to this body does really seem to point to this being Jay. And, you know, now we will just have to wait for this formal process of an autopsy to be carried out.
Yeah, the police will need to formally identify any remains, any body found. His Majesty's coroner will also need a cause of death and formal identification to be carried out. But even reading their statement, you just alluded to it there, but evidence strongly suggests the remains are those of the 19-year-old, and all indications indicate. So even when I was reading those words being used by the Spanish authorities, there were strong indications there that they are fairly confident, sadly, it is Jay that they found. But they do have to wait for a much formal means of identification to be carried out before they can actually confirm it. I know people may understand or not understand how that happens or why it has to take that form, but they have to have it formally identified and remains to be formally identified for His Majesty's coroner and for the Spanish authorities. So they have to go through this fairly lengthy process of actually identifying the body that's been found, albeit that maybe the clothing resembles that of Jay's, his belongings are found there as well. So, as I said in this statement, all indications, and it strongly suggests that sadly, it is Jay that they found, and they suspect at the moment from all indications of where he was found and the circumstances that he suffered a trip or fall in this is largely inaccessible area. And it's very difficult to search these areas. Just looking at the pictures you're showing, they're not even that easy to walk on, you know, to cover on foot. It's very few footpaths, etc. If he was moving around maybe in twilight or dim light, etc., or he's fallen through bushes and so on, it's very difficult to find people. You go down ravines, into gorges, etc. You can just see the type of terrain they've had to search. And to their credit, they've kept at this for a significant period of time, trying to find him in this largely inaccessible area with using dogs and people, and as we've mentioned before, drones as well.
His mum, who was being helped by that charity, LBT Global, she was using some of the money to deploy more search people and dogs to the area. There was a non-profit organisation based in the Netherlands who have experience searching for missing people who are going to go out there. She says that the Guardia Civil gave up the land search after 12 days. Do you think that there will now be questions about whether they should have continued that search for longer?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I think the whole circumstances of the extent of the search.
Yes, they should have. Like the Guardia Civil putting out that they've been continually searching. No, they haven't. They haven't been continually searching. They haven't. They may have. They did very, you know, out there every single day for 12 days, and then they disappeared. And they may have come back and done kind of small scale periodic searches. We don't know, but they certainly haven't been out there constantly. They haven't. But thank you, Holly. All we know so far is that it was close to where his phone last pinged, like in that area, but we don't know specifically where. So yeah, I hope people apologise to his family. I hope people apologise to his friends. And the thing about the crows, I mentioned it today in my video, that these ravines, crows don't go down ravines. They don't. Like maybe, you know, in the areas where the mountain goats are, yeah, but not down ravines. But we don't know specifically where the area was where his phone last pinged. And also crows, they're not like vultures. Crows are opportunists, but they're not like vultures. Is it verified that it's him? Formal identification has not taken place because they've got to wait for the results of the autopsy. However, they do believe it is Jay. Like the claws and his possessions and so on. They do believe it is Jay.
In persons investigations, you have to look at all the facts that come into you, all the information that comes into the police's hands, and prioritise your actions. Prioritise where your searches are going to be. Prioritise where you're looking. We've mentioned previously about, and I've seen grainy CCTV images suggesting he was somewhere else. Other suggestions that he'd gone to other venues, etc. It's difficult then to keep your focus in the initial suggestion, the initial information that is in this particular area, when you're getting other leads that appear to have some credibility, and then you've got to check them and search in those areas, because you don't want to be missing where this individual is and just ignore something. So it becomes a balancing act between looking at the information you've got, what you can corroborate and confirm, and then focusing your attention in that particular area. And some of these can be very distracting because they seem very credible, they seem legitimate. So you start moving your resources away from the immediate search area, and that then takes you longer once you negate these other theories to go back to where you were initially and start over again.
And Graham, just in the last few minutes, there had been a bit more information from the Reuters news agency. So they've been told by the police that the body was found this morning, and it was found by a Civil Guard mountain rescue team, which also perhaps points to the remoteness and the inaccessibility of the area.
Yeah, I think it does. Mountain rescue teams work in inaccessible areas, work in areas that you know, we'll say ordinary search teams, but your normal search teams maybe can't get to. So they've clearly deployed specialist and extensive search teams, mountain rescue teams, to look in areas that may be...
Right, I'm not going to state the obvious. And I've said it so many times. This is why I was so pleased, which is why I put in capital letters, great news, that a specialist search team are on their way. I've been saying for weeks, they need specialist mountain rescue people. Not just the regular police. Yes, they've done their work. They've done, you know, the areas where they can. But it does appear that once they've deployed a mountain rescue team, that they've found him. I think he's gone further down. I think he's gone further down than where the phone ping was, to that place where it gets really rocky, and he's fallen. That's what I think. Stating the obvious, though.
These parents will have been going through hell for the last month.
Absolutely. It's something that many people don't really understand until you've lived through it or worked closely with the families, just how challenging it is when someone goes missing, just not having answers, not knowing what's happening to them, listening to all that rumour and speculation that goes on, all the conspiracy theories that are expounded, and still waiting and waiting. And it just is awful. When I'm dealing with another family in the UK for Jackie O'Sullivan.
But as I've been saying, the dogs can't go down those ravines. It would be catastrophic to send those dogs down the deepest of those ravines. So I don't know, without knowing the exact location where he was found. I do believe, though, it was that if it's not too far from where his phone pinged and it's not close to the ocean, then it's that area that gets really rocky. Like it's shrubs and cactuses and whatever, and then it gets really, really rocky. If you've been watching my footage, I've been playing footage in my videos from people who've actually walked that trail. And it's been giving me, and hopefully you, if you've been watching those videos, a really good idea of what that trail's like, because you just can't see it on a map. It just looks dark on a map because the rocks and the ravines are so deep. So hopefully that's been useful to you, all the footage that I've been finding and putting it in my videos.
Claire, an adult, that changes things, doesn't it? If he'd been a few years younger, the search would have perhaps been of different magnitude, do you think?
Well, it shouldn't really make a difference, because what's important is to evaluate the information and make an assessment of the risk and the immediacy and the urgency. Clearly, this was out of character behaviour for Jay. It was strange that he wandered off the way he did, but you know, it's not hard to see that he was a high-risk missing person, and it deserved a high-level response. And it's been very much in the public's mind, in the media, and the police have been working hard at it, as far as we can see from the media reports. And so, yes, he did get a high level of response, and that's what it deserved.
Charlie Hedges, we're going to leave it there. Thank you very much for now. Thank you for joining us. Missing Persons Charity, Charlie Hedges. We're just going to step away from this story just to bring you some footage coming in. We're seeing the plane carrying the England football squad.
All right, we don't need to see the England football squad. They lost last night 2-1 to Spain. So we'll have a look what's going on elsewhere. I've got Twitter up in the background here. Yeah, curious. Spanish police officially announced on the 30th of June they called off the search. Do you know what I think? I think they've deployed a mountain rescue team, because they had the Netherlands search people coming in, and they probably thought, well, okay, we'll deploy a mountain rescue team because maybe we'll have egg on our face if we don't. And they find him, and we don't. It's all about appearances, isn't it? So, yeah, same clothing, same belongings. The cause of death has not been revealed. No. Cause of death has not been revealed. The manner of death, people confuse cause of death and manner of death. Manner of death is the circumstances by which you died. So the manner of death will be accident. So the manner of death, the Spanish police have said it looks like it's an accidental fall. But the cause of death is how you died. So did you break your neck? Was your skull fractured? That kind of thing is the cause of death. So Civil Guard discovered the body. For those just coming in. For those just coming in, there has a body been found in the area where Jay Slater was last missing, was last seen. It's in an inhospitable area, but close to where the phone pinged. Scottish girl, thank you for the £5. But the message has been deleted. But thank you for the £5. And it's they believe it's Jay, although formal identification has not taken place. They believe it's Jay because the clothes and the possessions with him are consistent with it being Jay. Thank you, Riley's nanny, for the $4.99. I was right. I don't like being right in these circumstances. I wanted it to be Jay. I wanted it to be Jay. You know, when they showed that grainy CCTV footage, I wanted it to be Jay, you know, that he's alive. But it was, it was just logical. It was obvious. It was obvious. So I don't know whether these are new, whether these are new pictures. I haven't seen that picture before. So I'm wondering whether it's that team. And if, I don't know, we are just going to have to wait. That's from Sky. I'm going to see if there's anybody else done reports on this right now. Like GB News and Talk TV have been following the case. Honestly, I don't think we're going to get anything more specific until they've done the autopsy. Honestly. Just look at the terrain, yeah. Just look at it. Just look at it. So, where I think they've possibly found him is here. Hold on. Let me get the map up. So, this is the Airbnb right here. This is the Mirador de Hilda. That's like the lookout place, and there's a little cafe there. Now, his phone pings somewhere in this area. So, just before the beginning of this is the beginning of the Juan Lopez Trail here. And it goes all the way down. But it looked like Jay had gone off-road before that. Still need a map emoji, I know we do. And then there's a path. So if you look how steep this is okay. And there's a path down here. And then the path goes into basically nothing. And you have to really know where to walk. Like the path just disappears. But the trail continues. And the trail goes all the way down. I think it's a couple of miles. It goes all the way down, like in the bowels of the earth. You can just see. You can see that the Google Maps has said there's a trail, and there absolutely is. But it's so dark and it's so deep down there that, like, anything from above, this is why I've been saying that a drone or a helicopter isn't going to see him in this area. You need actual people down here. Thank you, Auntie Ree, for the 149. It's very kind of you. And the unicorn. And then that goes down to this little beach here. But there's so many ways you could go wrong. There's so many ways you could lose your footing. And the people who do this trail, so it's like down from this path, you're down here, and then you're down between basically this cavernous area, really deep. And again, if you've been watching my footage that I've been playing from people who've actually walked down here, you can see what it's like. And I think if it's reasonably close to where his phone last pinged, which is up here, but it's inhospitable, it gets really inhospitable from about there. Like, if you just look about how steep that becomes around there. So I don't think he made it to the sea. I've been wondering whether he's managed to make it to the sea, realize that the beach isn't the kind of beach that he thought it was, and you know, I think he was heading that way because he saw the sea, and he probably thought, if I get down to the beach, there'll be people down there, I'll be able to get help, and I don't want to go back to the Airbnb for whatever reason, and I can just walk back to my accommodation that way. And I've been wondering whether he's managed to get down there and then tried to get back up, realizing he's not been, he can't get home that way. I'm wondering whether he's been on his way back up, which I guess is possible. Thank you for the 5 gifted memberships, Flicking Bollocks. That's very kind of you. I'll have to scroll back up now to see who got them. So look here. Hold on. I'm struggling. My computer's frozen. Hold on. I'll have to do that. Why will it not let me scroll back up? This is annoying. Dear me. For some reason, it's not letting me scroll back up. So I don't know who got those 5 memberships, but thank you so much. And welcome everybody. It's just not it's not giving me the option to scroll. That's weird. That is so weird. Very weird. Right, here we go. Oh. Why is it being like this? Why is it being like this? There we go. I'm scrolling now. I'm scrolling. Right, we've got A1 Way Street, Kiki's Eyes, Rhonda, So Sheepy, and Giraffe Jackie. Thank you so much. Welcome, you guys. Welcome, everybody. So it could have been on his way back up. I mean, imagine how exhausted he would be. And when you're exhausted, you're way more likely to make a mistake. Or he could have not even made it that far and just fallen in this area where it's becomes really, really rocky. If you saw my video yesterday, I played some TikToks from Christopher Tenerife on TikTok. I don't think he's on YouTube. And he was just standing in the area where Jay's phone last pinged, and there was like these loose rocks, and it was relatively flat. I mean, yeah, it was slope, but it wasn't really, really bad. And he just slipped because the rock, because it's so dry, and this is volcanic rock, it's so dry that these rocks are just kind of slipping under you, and he fell. So easily done. So easily done. Yeah, the civil guard, the Guardia Civil, are the Spanish police, like the local police who've been out there. Who found the remains? The Spanish police, the Guardia Civil. Yeah, Andy, I agree with you. Chris and others have been in that area every day. They would have seen the civil guard if back searching. Unless the civil guard have been like way down, like the specialist team, like not the civil guard, but deployed by the civil guard. If they've been way down here, like, because they could have arrived by boat. There could have been people way down here that, TikTokers who've been in, like, looking in this area wouldn't have seen. So that's possible. It's a body. They use the term human remains when, in the first instances. They tend to use the term human remains, but it is a body. And they do believe it's Jay because it's like the same clothes and the possessions belong to Jay. So they do believe it's Jay. But I mean, it's pretty precarious. It's pretty bad. You know, once this path ends, it's hard work. Even before you get right down here, it's hard going. It's tough going. And the map does not do it justice at all. It really doesn't. It really doesn't. I mean, there's all these like little crevices. You know, the path comes, I think the path goes down here, but like there's all these little crevices. I mean, look at that. That's a little hill in itself. And you just think that that's like little shrubs, and it's not. These are, you know, there's a lot of coverage. So he could have been anywhere along here. But the really, really rocky stuff starts here, where it just goes like really steep. Look, it just does not do it justice on the map, because you can't see this stuff from above. Which I've been saying for, I don't know, people just didn't believe me. I don't know. People still won't believe me. People will still think that it's all a lie, but what can you do? What can you do? Was he found where you thought? Yeah. So, I don't know. Sky News is still talking about England football squad. Spanish police will officially confirm the human remains found in Tenerife to be that of Jay Slater in the next 90 minutes after the autopsy is complete, which has presumably begun. No. I mean, possibly. But just think, they've got to transport the body. They've got to transport the body. They've got to get the body. Let's be clear. They've got to get the body out from where the body was found. Then they've got to transport the body to whichever medical examiner. This is such a remote area, remember? It's such a remote area. You know, where's the biggest town in the vicinity where there'd be a medical examiner's office? So then the autopsy has got to have happened, which is a good couple of hours. So no, we're not going to get confirmation in the next 90 minutes unless his body was found early this morning. If it was found very early this morning, so we don't know what time the body was found. I literally released my video, and then 10 minutes later, Sky News started with the breaking news. The body was found in the morning. Yeah, but like, was it found at 7 a.m.? Was it found at 9 a.m.? And I think they're 1 hour ahead of me, maybe. Spain. I don't know whether they are, actually. I have no idea. There will be footage on that. Well, I hope there's not footage of them carrying the body away. Unless the body's covered, of course. Not like that absolute clown, his name escapes me, who filmed Nicola Bulley's body being brought out of the water. So it's 13 minutes past 3 in Spain. All right, so yeah, it's an hour ahead. You're an hour ahead of me. It's 13 minutes past 2 here. So, yeah, if the body was found, let's say 8 a.m., that's 7 hours ago. So, yeah, they could have got the body out, transported the body, and the autopsy could have been done. So that is possible, I guess. I hope the speculation can stop now. It's unlikely. There'll be people who will let it drop now. There'll be people who say, "Oh, I was wrong," but there'll be the stalwarts who will continue, like the people are continuing to this day, to say that Nicola Bulley was murdered and that Lancashire police covered it up, and are still making videos about it. Oh, Tenerife is the same time zone as here. Okay. So Tenerife's the same time zone. All right. So I suppose it's a bit further west than Spain. Hold on. Time zone. Tenerife. Oh, yeah. Tenerife belongs to the same time zone as the UK and Ireland. Cool. So it is only 2:15 in Tenerife at the minute. So it must be just the Spanish mainland that's in an hour ahead. Let's have a listen to this BBC report here.
Rescue teams have finished. Let's bring you some breaking news now coming to us from the Reuters news agency in Tenerife. And we are hearing in the last few minutes that the Spanish rescue teams have found human remains in the area where the British teenager Jay Slater went missing in Tenerife. Just to bring you an update there, Spanish rescue teams have found human remains in the area where Jay Slater went missing in Tenerife. We know, of course, that Jay Slater went missing a long while ago, all the way back on the morning of June 17th was the last time that he was heard from, when he called a close friend to say that he was lost in a mountainous area of Tenerife with only 1% battery on his phone. Well, since then, Spanish police have scoured the area, haven't they, for him. There was a huge search and rescue operation. Members of his family and friends also arrived in the Spanish island to help continue the search. Well, in the last few minutes, we are hearing from Spanish rescue teams that they have found human remains in the area where the British teenager Jay Slater went missing in Tenerife. Just to remind you that the area where he went missing was very rough, mountainous terrain. He'd been at a music festival with a group of his friends from the UK when he apparently met a couple of people and went to a remote house near the mountainous area where he spent a few hours. From there, he was thought to have left the house to try and make his way back to the place where he and his friends were staying. He never made it, though, and he made that last phone call early in the morning of the 17th of June. So Spanish rescue teams are saying that they have found human remains in the area where the British teenager Jay Slater went missing in Tenerife. This is breaking news coming to us from the Reuters news agency.
All right, so that's the BBC from a little while ago. Spanish police statement in full. Let's look at this. Sky News did read the Spanish police statement, but let's read it again. So this is in the Daily Mirror. Body has been found. Okay. Okay. A spokesman for the Civil Guard said today, after 29 constant days of searching. No, they didn't search constantly for 29 days. They searched constantly for 12 days. And then they may have been doing some periodic searching, but they have not been out there for 29 days. Anyway, This is what they're saying. After 29 constant days of searching, the lifeless body of a young man has been found in the Mascot area. Given the complexity of the case, the discovery has been possible thanks to the tireless and discreet search carried out by the Civil Guard over these 29 days, in which the natural space was preserved. Everything is pointing to the body being that of the young British man who disappeared on June 17th. Pending full identification, initial inquiries are pointing to him having suffered an accident stroke fall in the area where he was found. Then, in a fuller statement, the force added, officers of the Civil Guard belonging to the Mountain Rescue and Intervention Group have located this morning the dead body of a young man in the area of Mascot, belonging to the municipality of the Buena Vista del Norte. So they're saying a body, so human remains doesn't mean body parts. It is a body that was clothed and has possessions with him. So not robbed. His phone wasn't taken from him. His possessions were with him. And I believe it's Jay. I believe it's Jay. So the Mountain Rescue and Intervention Group, the GREAM. So let's have a look at them. Have a look what they do. Spain. The GREAM. All right. So look at this. This is Wikipedia, so, you know, take it for what you will. Mountain Rescue and Intervention Group are the specialist units of the Spanish Civil Guard focused on mountain and cave rescue, and in general, all police work in mountain conditions. After the Spanish Civil War, under the law of 15th of March 1940, we're going back to 1940, 1954, 1967, the development of the modern mountain service under pressure from the Spanish and French mountaineers to provide a rescue service equal to that of the French, whatever, in 1891, 1981, not 1891. In 1981, the Civil Guard service was reorganized and the GREAM units were set up in all the main mountain areas of Spain. A training school and a national inspectorate were established. In the early 1990s, the present-day mountain service took shape, employing about 250 civil guards and making use of the Guards helicopter units. In 1992, the International Commission for Alpine Research acclaimed the mountain service as one of the 4 best in the world, together with those of France, Switzerland, and Austria. So I'm guessing he was in those really inhospitable places that they weren't able to search, you know, just normally on foot. Is anyone else missing? No, there's no one else missing in that immediate vicinity. So I think it's him. I do think it's him. So the tasks assigned to the Civil Guard Mountain Service are as follows: to render assistance to persons who are the victims of accidents, lost or cut off in the mountains or places difficult to access, to ensure compliance with the regulations for natural environment conservation in the mountains, to enforce security and compliance with legislation enforced in the areas where they work, to monitor, control and maintain public order on ski slopes, including mountain sports competitions. Okay. So that's who those guys are. So those are the guys who found him. All right, let's see if there's anything else in this. No, there's nothing else. Oh, There we go. So all indications suggest that it could be the young British man who has been missing for 29 days, who may have died due to an accident or fall in the rough and inaccessible area where he was found, thanks to the unceasing and constant search carried out by the different units of the Civil Guard, in which it has not stopped to look for the young man every day in the area of Masker, where he alleged to have disappeared. The Green officers have found the dead body of a young person in a very inhospitable area. The results of the autopsy are awaiting confirmation that it's an accident. So, Green officers led the search involving helicopters and sniffer dogs that continued for nearly 2 weeks before police announced it had been halted. They had not said in public it was continuing, and there had been little outward signs of it going on on a more reduced scale. Yeah. So they may have just been doing like really selective targeted searches. And maybe I said in my video today, which I'm going to have to take down now because it's just not relevant. But what I said was what I would have done if I was a mountain expert and I was able to do these things, which I'm not. I'd have started here. I'd have used a boat, because the only two ways you can get to this trail is either from the top or from the beach. I'd have started the bottom here and worked my way up. And maybe that's what they did. Maybe there have been teams down there that like TikTokers and stuff wouldn't have seen. But that's what I'd have done. Once it became clear, it wasn't in this immediate vicinity, then I'd have started at the bottom and worked my way up. So maybe they did. Maybe they did, and that's why we've not seen them. But who knows? Who knows? Because if his body was found, further up near the foam ping, we're just speculating. We're just speculating at this point. But that is such a deep path. Those crevices and ravines are huge. I can't show you where his body was found because I don't know. All I can tell you is that it's somewhere on this trail between where he's foam pinged, which is about here, and the sea. All we know is it's near the foam ping, but in an inhospitable area. So I'm guessing it's down this rocky area, because it gets more and more rocky and more precarious. But we're going to have to wait. Once they start releasing pictures, not of the body, but of, they might release some pictures of the area, then I'll be able to work it out. Personally think that something may have been spotted yesterday but needed a rescue team with ropes to get to today. That's very possible. Yeah, that is very possible. That is very possible. A body outdoors exposed to the warm air wouldn't last too long. It's not that warm though, like consistently. Out in the mountains, it's a lot cooler than in the coastal regions, and at night it drops really quite cold or cool. I wouldn't say it's cold, but cool. So it's not like boiling hot temperatures the whole time. And also, if it was down one of these ravines, then the body would have been reasonably well preserved because the sun doesn't get down there. Yeah, I think he was making his way to the beach, as I've been saying now for ages. I think he was making his way down to the beach. His dad believed that as well. The chopper was busy in the valley yesterday, was it? Well, there you go then. Maybe something was spotted. Maybe they went out really early this morning with ropes and stuff. Yeah, if he was in a ravine, he'd have been called. Yeah, because these are so deep. This is what I've been saying, that it's difficult, very difficult for like drones and things to spot somebody. It's so deep that, like, it's so dark down there that Google can't see it, you know, from above. Even there, you're not actually seeing the trail. You're not seeing the trail. Like, see the bottom of the trail there. But further down, you just lose it because it's so deep. It's so steep. If only people would have listened. That's the actual trail there. So you've got the trail up until there, and then it's gone. It's too dark. It's too deep. Hello, Dapper Dog. Yeah, I mean, they'll have to decide what to do with the rest of the GoFundMe money. I assume they may use it to give Jay a, you know, a really nice send off, and then it would be nice if they could donate it, like to, you know, Mountain Rescue or something. That would be nice. It's back on Sky News, is it? Okay. Let's have a look.
Okay, Shingy, thanks very much for that. Well, let's bring in Peter Kirkham, former Detective Chief Inspector with the Met, who joins us now. And Peter, it's a month since Jay went missing. Is it unusual for it to take so long, do you think, for the police to find a body which appears to be very much in the area where they thought he'd gone missing?
Not really. Not in an area where access is so difficult and the terrain is so difficult, as has been the case here. Everything is very, very slow. There are always going to be, when a sort of sweep goes across one particular area, there'll be parts of it, gullies and crevasses and such like, that can't be searched at that particular moment, and they'll be marked up as not searched yet. And slowly specialist teams will go back and work their way through those, which I suspect is probably what's happened here. It would seem like the area has been searched before, but quite probably not in the level of detail in relation to the more inaccessible points like the crevasse.
They are lucky to find him. They are.
With a post-mortem examination is now expected to take place. How long should we expect that probably to take?
Well, the post-mortem will take a number of hours, and it will be the logistics of where that's going to be, and getting an appropriately qualified pathologist and the support that they need in order to do that. Within London, they'd be done within a few hours, or certainly, you know, early the next day. The results may or may not be available to the police immediately. Things that are obvious, things that are seen by the pathologist during the post-mortem, they'll be brought to the attention of the officers. There'll probably be an officer at the post-mortem, so they'll know about them right from the very beginning. But the conclusions of the pathologist, the opinion of the pathologist in terms of what, if any, of the injuries was potentially fatal, that may follow. And things like toxicology and other tests that maybe need some sort of laboratory analysis, they will take some time afterwards. And only when all of those are in will the pathologist be able to give a final definitive opinion. But I would suspect in this case, the police will be expecting within a few hours of that post-mortem starting to know pretty much what became of Jay in terms of how he ended up dying in that particular location.
And as in this case, and as with other cases we've seen in recent years, the amount of conspiracy theories and social media theories about what happened to this young man just developed a life of their own, didn't they? How tricky does that make the police's job to sort of cancel out all that noise?
To be honest, the police, if they are wise, will just basically shut themselves off from most of it. Some part of the organisation will need to be screening that information and having a look at that information, think about it. and some leads and lines of inquiry and suggestions might be followed up to a certain extent, but the police need to be led by what's in front of them. There's an old detective saying that you clear the ground from under your feet, which basically means before moving forward, you check out everything that you're standing in the middle of and work forward from there. And if the police do that, then the distractions of all these weird, wonderful and wild theories that people come up with, and they can usually find something somewhere to hang these theories on, all of those will be noise in the background. Now, it might be distracting. It will result in media inquiries of the police, but hopefully they'll be in a position where they are dealt with by a media department rather than operational officers. It's not helpful. The main problem with it is so distressing for the family because they'll be exposed to all of these things, some of which don't reflect well on Jay in any event. And that will just be adding to their distress. Unless they've got actual things they have seen and heard for themselves, people would do well to keep their wild theories to themselves and certainly not put them on worldwide social media platforms.
Sage advice. Peter Kirkham, former Detective Chief Inspector at the Metropolitan Police. Thank you very much. Well, let's cross now to Tenerife. We're joined by the author and travel writer, Joe CHORLEY, who is out there. And Joe, this news is only just...
Anyway, thank you, Kimberly, for the $10. That's very kind of you. For those just coming in, this morning, a body was found that is a young male and with the clothes and possessions consistent with it being Jay Slater. The formal ID has not taken place yet because the autopsy has not been completed, but it's very likely to be Jay, found in the area where he went missing, found in an inhospitable area. That's the words that was used, but relatively close to where the phone was last pinged. How far he was from the road, I don't know. I don't know. What breed of dog is that? Which one? The brown and white one that's been on this latest footage looks like some kind of crossbreed. Maybe a hound terrier mix. I'm not sure. Who found him? The mountain rescue team from the Civil Guard. That's who found him.
Not at this point. I know that it was very close to where Jay's phone was last located, the last ping from his phone, which is probably maybe half an hour walk from the village. I think the line of inquiry, well, there were several lines of inquiry, but the most probable route that Jay took was going to be downhill, and people thought maybe he just headed to the ocean. He's gone nowhere near that. I mean, the ocean is a 3-hour walk at best. If you're
we don't know, Louise, how far was the ping from the body found. We don't know the precise location where the body was found, other than they said it was in an inhospitable area. So I got the map up a little while ago. So if you just rewind a little bit, I'm speculating on whereabouts, but obviously we don't know exactly how far until we know the exact area. Did they start the search from the ping? Probably. Golden, you often disagree with me, but I'm usually correct. I don't like being right in these kind of circumstances. I really don't. Yeah, it was the Spanish mountain rescue people.
Writer joining us from Tenerife. Thank you so much for joining us. Well, a short time ago, we brought you live footage of the England squad arriving back at...
All right, they're going to go back for the England squad. Losers. Do they know for sure it's Jay? They've not done a formal identification yet because they have to do the autopsy, but it's a young male and consistent with it being Jay Slater, and with the clothes on that Jay was wearing, and possessions that are consistent with those Jay would have had. So it's very, very likely that it's Jay. I'm assuming that it's Jay, but there's no other bodies that are currently missing in that precise area. So they won't confirm it until the autopsy is completed. Christopher Tenerife did a walk to the exact spot Jay's phone last pinged. Must have been so close to Jay's body when he slipped. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. We don't know how far, like the phone ping was around here, this area. Maybe here. Just before the beginning of the Juan Lopez trail. But you can see that it's perfectly walkable, like down here, until you get to, starts getting a little bit more dodgy kind of around here. But you've got a path, and then the path ends, and then it's just, you're picking your way through, and it gets steeper and steeper and steeper. You can look how steep it becomes. And then the trail continues all the way down to the ocean. But it's that deep that Google can't see down. But yet there is still a trail down here. People do walk down here. Go and watch back some of my other videos on this case, because I've been including footage from hikers who've actually walked this trail, so you can see what it's like down at the bottom of this ravine. And it's very, very, very rocky, and it's very, very, very steep. Like, you need, if you stay on the trail, you're okay. But, you know, the hikers, they're very experienced who go down there, and they tend to use sticks. Still wonder why he was scared, and we don't even know whether he was scared. We don't, and we know Mark Williams Thomas said they got reason to believe that he was scared, but but was he really scared, or was he just paranoid? You know, depending on what drugs he'd been taking, he may have just become really paranoid, and he may just have not wanted to stay there. We don't know. We don't know those details. And we'll probably, honestly, we'll probably never know those details. We'll probably never know those details. But he could have gotten nowhere near this really rocky area. He could have slipped and fallen, like somewhere here. Like even these, what look like gentle hills, they're not. It's difficult terrain, you can see. You can see how steep it is, and you can see that this is rough. It's rough. But if you got down to this point, then it becomes very, very precarious. Remember, he was dehydrated. Remember, he'd been up for 3 days at a music festival. So, you know, losing your footing becomes, you know, making a mistake, having an accident becomes much more likely when you're not fit, when you're not, you know, you're not thinking clearly. Absolutely. Alcohol and drugs can cause hallucinations, sleep deprivation. Absolutely. Absolutely. And but we'll wait. It's usually 4 to 6 weeks in this country for the results of toxicology. So I don't know how long it would take in Spain. I mean, I don't even know where they're going to take his body for an autopsy. So yeah. All right, guys, I'm going to go. We've still got we've got 2,429 people in the chat, but I am going to go. If if they do release anything later today, anything further, I'll come back. I'll come back live. But otherwise, I think they're just going to keep recycling the same news until they've got something specific to say. So if there's nothing comes out today, then I won't see you again. But if something significant comes out, like, you know, a specific cause of death, I don't think it will today. I mean, I might be wrong, but right. Hold on a minute. Oh, I was just gonna remove that person, but I'm gonna hide them. You reported me. Yeah, I've been reported. Hold on. I want to see that message. Reported to the DWP and Taxman. Get a job, you fake news reporter. I do my taxes. Listen, you dude, I do my taxes. All of the income that I earn from YouTube is taxed. I pay my taxes. So you can report me until the cows come home. I do my taxes. The HMRC know exactly how much I earn. And it's probably not as much as you think. However, I do my taxes. All right, guys. Thank you all. A taxi. What's a tax? What? All right. I'm going before these numpties come in. I can see that there's numpties going to flood the chat. You've not even reported me to the right people, I bet. The guy took a wrong turn. Well, the guy who came in the chat definitely took a wrong turn. Yeah. Took a wrong turn into the wrong channel. Yeah. Absolutely. All right, guys. Thank you all. Thank you, mods. I know this was like 5 minutes notice, but yeah, I'm going to unlist the video that I put on this morning because it's not relevant now, I don't think. I think this is Jay. I really do think this is Jay. So I'll be back later if there's anything else that happens, anything significant. Otherwise, I will see you tomorrow. Thanks for the donations. Welcome to the new members and enjoy the rest of your day. If I don't see you before, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.